الله وبركاته. Everybody ready? After food? We had some fun outside, alhamdulillah. طيب, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawala. My talk right now is about leadership necessities, managing difference in opinion. So really, I mean, if you look at it, any leader, part of his job is to be able to build consensus. Part of his job is to unite people of different colors, backgrounds, ethnicities, languages, on a common cause, with a specific goal, with a specific vision. If a leader cannot do that, he fails or she fails. So it's very important to understand this topic. I mean, people know me. I'm not a person who beats around the bush. I get to the issues, and I talk about the issues and I put my finger upon the wounds. Our community and our families and our ummah, unfortunately, has lots of problems with this specific issue. We have lots of differences, lots of scrimmages, lots of bickering, lots of divisions, and this is one of the most problematic area within our self-development as individuals and leadership development as future leaders of the community and our ummah at large. And Hudhayfa ibn al-Yaman radiallahu anhu, he narrates a hadith from the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, which really pinpoints this issue. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam one time goes and prays with his Sahaba, and he prolongs his prayer. Comes back, and the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ask him, Ya Rasulullah, yani you prolonged it today, anything special? He says, I made a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال, إني سألت الله فيها. I've asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within this prolonged prayer, ثلاثا, three things. فأعطاني اثنتين, he accepted my dua in two. ومنعني واحدة, and he rejected one dua. What was the dua that the Rasul was careful, meticulous to prolong his prayer to make for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He says, سألته أن لا يهلكها بالسنين. I asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that my ummah never gets destroyed with like famines and natural disasters and so forth. فأعطاني. He accepted that dua. And he says, سألته أن لا يظهر على أمتي غيرها. I asked him, oh Allah, please don't let other nations, other civilizations, to beat and overcome my ummah. فأعطاني. And he accepted that dua. And the last dua is where you need to focus. وسألته ألا يجعل بأسها بينها فمنعني. I asked him, oh Allah, please don't let the bickering and the divisions overcome my ummah, because that's a source of weakness and failure. فمنعني. He rejected this one. Subhanallah. And our ummah today, the first and foremost cause, the first and foremost disease is our divisions, our intolerance to one another. How long is your beard? No, your beard is not on the sunnah, akhi. How's your hijab? The hijab is not upon the sunnah or the wajib, akhi or ukhti. And we keep the list of piety. I have a piety checklist. Every single time we meet a new person, new brother or sister, our brain goes through that list, tick, 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 like a little computer. Where does he sit on my scale of piety? That's an issue, that's a problem. But the Rasul ﷺ says our test as an ummah is literally just that. No other nation can beat our ummah. No natural disaster will put our ummah at risk, will never, ever be extinct. But this is where we are. And that's why we need to deal with this issue. For a leader, and all of you, I look at you guys as a leader. This is not just a regular retreat. I'm not saying it because this is something that my team have organized, but this is not a regular retreat. This is not just for you to come and have fun. This is for you to be a leader. The leaders of tomorrow. I look at you as a leader. I treat you as a leader. What a leader needs to learn, number one, is that differences are natural. The sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to create us differently, to create us with differences in our languages, our thinking processes, our decision making, our tastes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبُّكَ لَجَعَلَ النَّاسَ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted, He would have made the whole set of human beings, all humanity, as one united, similar, compatible, homogeneous nation. We're all the same. We all love the same burgers. We all eat the same sushis. We all love that specific biryani. There's not much differences. We're just one cookie cutter approach. But the thing is, this is not the reality. We are different and Allah created us differently. Look around you. Just take a look around you. You see people with different colors, different backgrounds. People with niqab, people with hijab, people without hijab. People with beards, people with no beards, people with long beards. People with a thobe, people with no thobe, people with kids. People with no kids, people are married, people are not married. People are engineering, people in business, people in arts. Old people, young people, kids. We're so different. But we all have the same deen. And our deen teaches us how to treat and manage those differences. People fail and falter due to difference in opinion in two ways. Two ways. The number one way, I don't want to call it extremism, because extremism is a word that the West have tried to import into our deen. But it is this intolerant behavior. When you see somebody just different, your thobe is too short or too long, or it's a little bit above your ankle, a little bit below your ankle. It's supposed to be under the knee. And you go through all these little meticulous stuff. Now, these differences are there. I'm not making fun of them. At the end of the day, when you do it because it's a sunnah. You believe it's a sunnah, and you do it because it's a sunnah. But my question, how you should look and relate to others who do not agree with you that this is the case. Are they mubtadi'? Are they fasiq? Are they, his aqeedah or her aqeedah is fasid? And this is the issue with these people. They see the world in black and white. They see the world in kufr and iman, fusuq and asyan. And this is the issue. The issue is with these brothers and sisters is that the difference in opinion, instead of it being something as positive, it becomes a curse upon all of us. The issue about difference in opinion has to take into criteria two things: certainty and urgency. We'll come back to those. The second type of people, which is, when you think about difference in opinion, you don't think about them, but they are on the line here, basically, of acceptance and rejection. They're the ones who would accept anything and everything. They're the one who basically will be happy to import any ideal, any value, as long as there's people to clap for it, they would like to import it into Islam. So these are the people that you would consider, or they'd like to consider in themselves a little bit more westernized and modern and a little bit more civilized than the backward little Muslimin back home and so forth. You see them basically adopting feminist values, secular values, liberal values, capitalist values, any type of ism and any type of value system that is popular, anything that's out there that has people clapping for. They'd like to incorporate so they fit in. They have the problem like when we used to be in high school, and I was in high school here, people would want to just fit in. Like they do whatever they want to do to fit in. And they do ridiculous things to fit in. And when they grow up and they become a little bit more practicing, that same attitude, part of their baggage, comes with them. They just want to fit in. They don't care about what's right and what's wrong. They don't care basically Allah have, prescribed this ruling or value or not. They just want to basically have acceptance from everybody around them. So what is really the real criteria for dealing with this issue? Very simple. The ayah in Surah Al-Imran defines it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه إيش؟ منه آيات محكمات هن الكتاب وأخر متشابهات. He's the one who revealed upon you the book. Now within this book, there are two different categories of ayat. Some of them are muhkamat. المحكم من التنزيل والمحكم من الكتاب والمحكم من الوحي is what? Is sentences and Arabic linguistic structures that can only be understood within the principles of language through one and single meaning. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, say that Allah is one. You can't basically have people come and say, well, you know what? My sheikh tells me this means something a little bit different. And one time, one Christian came to me, I was debating a priest, and it's like, see, here the Father is speaking about himself. So he wasn't touching the Son and the Holy Ghost. So they would like to do interpretation, but the linguistic structure does not allow any other interpretation. This is al-muhkam. Now when you have al-muhkam, you cannot differ. There's no leeway for difference. Why? You ask me why, I tell you. Because the linguistic structure of the sentence does not allow you. Even in English, it's the same thing in any language. Either the sentence is ambiguous. How many people have studied computer science? We study theory of languages, and we study languages at a theoretical level. So we discuss ambiguity. I'm a computer science graduate, so we study the ambiguous languages and non-ambiguous languages. Why? Because it's very important when you create a computer machine language, it must be always muhkam. Otherwise, you tell the computer, please move my file, the computer would like to interpret it other ways, and he'd say, you know what, I'd like to delete it for you, because this is what I thought you were saying. Your language is ambiguous, Mr. User. You're telling me to move the file, I just threw it in the trash can. You don't want the computer to do this, especially when the computer is really controlling something sensitive like an industrial process or a car, and you press the brakes, and the computer says, you know what, I thought this was the gas pedal. And then basically you rush into the wall. No, you don't want to do that. Machine languages must not have any mutashabih. Has to be always muhkam. We're talking even like a machine level. But the human languages, there's ambiguity. That's how the brain works. That's how human languages are. That's how the human communicates. وَأُخَرُ مُتَشَابِهَاتٌ. And there's other verses in the Quran that are mutashabih. There is linguistic ambiguity. Differentiate ambiguity in terms of us not being able to understand the Quran. That's not what it means here. It means that the linguistic structure can be interpreted in more than one fashion. Not more than in one fashion, not like some of our liberal and modernist friends would basically like it to mean, like, make it mean anything you like. No. Within the structure, there could be this meaning, or that meaning, or possibly a third meaning. Like, you can't have an ayah that has 200 meanings. It doesn't exist. The linguistic structure narrows down the meanings and narrows down the possibilities. Now, within those verses and ahadith, that's where difference in opinion can be. Okay? So it's all linguistic structures at the end of the day. And that's why we try to tell youngsters, please do not do ijtihad on your own before you start learning the language. And when we say that you need a scholar because the scholar spends his time and effort, or her, investing their time and effort into learning the language and the nusus of the Sharia. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, إذا حكم الحاكم فاجتهد فأصاب فله أجران وإذا حكم الحاكم فاجتهد وأخطأ فله أجر. And that's why the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in this hadith, explaining that there are certain leeway for ijtihad. And ijtihad is the process of extracting the hukum shari'i, the Islamic ruling, from the Quran and the Sunnah. So he's saying there's a leeway within the mutashabih for you to do ijtihad. And since basically there could be multiple meanings from the text, there would be a right meaning and a wrong meaning. So if a mujtahid or a scholar extracts an opinion and he gets it right, he gets 2 rewards. And if he gets it wrong, he gets 1 single reward. So both of them are rewarded. Why? Because both of them are trying to understand what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from them. It's not that there's one that's evil and one that's pious. No. You try your best to reach the haqq. You try your best to reach the truth of what the nas is trying to say. But sometimes because the tashabuh within the textual context and the hadith that you might know or might not know, you might reach different conclusions. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says, I'm just going to translate without the Arabic here, that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they used to debate issues, they used to debate different masail of he says basically ilmiya wa amaliya. They used to discuss aqidah matters and fiqh matters, both. And they used to differ. They used to differ. Now they never differ in the muhkam. So the aqidah, that is basically 100%, the usul of the aqidah, there's no difference in opinion. Same thing with fiqh. Don't think fiqh is different. The usul of the fiqh, the fundamentals of the fiqh, no one basically would differ. No, when was the last time you heard that there's a madhab that says there's 3 prayers or 2 prayers that's fard in a day? There's no ijtihad on that. Prayers are 5. There's no ijtihad on those 5 daily prayers. Okay? The sunan, there's difference in opinion about. Like Salat al-Witr. The Ahnaf do say it's a wajib. But all the other madhahib, they say it's a sunnah. So the difference are outside those 5 daily prayers. Why? Because the 5 daily prayers and the ayat and the ahadith that talks about them are muhkam. But the ahadith about Salat al-Witr, it is mutashabih. Therefore, some scholars reach a conclusion that it's wajib, and some scholars reach a conclusion that it's sunnah. And that's okay. Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, one of the scholars of the tabi'een, one time during the khilafah of Uthman bin Affan, they go out on a trip, they're traveling. So, you know basically what we just did when we prayed right here, we did qasr and jam'. Ibn Mas'ud was of the opinion that you don't, maybe in that specific situation, that you don't have to do qasr. Uthman bin Affan wanted to do qasr. Now he was the Khalifa, he was the Amir, he was the Imam of the Salah too at the same time. So what did Ibn Mas'ud say? He says, صَلَّيْتُ خَلْفَهُ, I prayed behind him with complete prayers. وَقَالَ الْخِلَافُ شَرٌّ. He says, in this instant, if I'm going to fight and bicker about this issue, yeah, this will be evil, shar. Why? Because he knows that this is an issue of difference in opinion. If it was an issue of qat'i or muhkam, fundamentals of the deen, he would have criticized Uthman. But alhamdulillah, all the Sahaba radiallahu anhum are one homogeneous body. They never bickered, never ever bickered or had even a discussion about the muhkam of the deen, whether it's in the aqidah or in the fiqh. And the popular hadith where the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were ordered to go to Bani Qurayza, which is one of the Jewish tribes around Medina, and not pray Asr until they get there. It's a very popular, I'm not going to get into it too much since most people know this hadith. So some of the Sahaba during their way to Bani Qurayza, Asr time was going to be done. So some of them did ijtihad and says, you know what, the Rasul didn't really mean not to pray Asr, he just meant that we should just rush there. So they stopped in the middle of the way and they prayed Asr. The rest of the Sahaba, the other half of the Sahaba, says, no, he told us not to pray Asr until we get there, therefore we're not going to pray Asr even if we miss it. We'll pray Qadha over there. Now the beautiful thing about this hadith that many people don't know is 2 things. Number 1 is that the Sahaba who thought that praying was not allowed because the Rasul forbade them to pray before they get to Bani Qurayza, they stayed there, waited for their brothers until they finished praying. And they continued to go as one group. Why? Because unity is a fard. Look at the brotherhood, look at the beauty, look at the love. But when we have ignorance, we make certain things that it's okay, it's halal to differ. A mas'ala that divides the ummah, which is a huge haram and a huge fitna that we fall into. The second thing that about this hadith, that when the Sahaba came back, they went to the Rasul to tell him, Ya Rasulullah, we did this ijtihad, what's right, what's wrong? What did he say? Look at what the Sahih hadith says about this issue. He says, ذكر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ما حدث فلم يعنف واحدا منهم. He did not reprimand any of them. What did that mean? If he didn't punish them, that means he was okay with what they did. Meaning this group and their ijtihad is okay because the nas is mutashabih and that is a valid meaning, a valid understanding. And the other group also, they've done ijtihad and the meaning that they extracted was something that's legal from a linguistic principles perspective, and therefore both are legal opinions. They're both valid opinions. At the end of the day, one opinion is correct, But the correct opinion gets 2 rewards. And the wrong opinion gets what? 1 reward. So they're both rewardable. But see, when you look at your brother or sister and you see the difference in how they pray and how they wear things, if I'm specifically talking about valid opinions, do you see it as they're doing haram, look, they're less pious than you? Or you just see the right of the other person to adopt another opinion? It's okay. The Rasul saw differences, it's okay. It's okay. Because the nas, the text, allows for that difference. Moving forward. Another difference in opinion that happened at the time of the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. This time basically 2 Sahaba went out on a trip and they didn't have access to water. So they decided to search for water, and after the search had failed to find water, what did they do? What did they do? Tayammum, right? Everybody knows. So they did tayammum. They prayed. So afterwards, they continued walking their journey, they found water. One says, look, alhamdulillah, I prayed already, I'm done, I don't need to repeat my prayer. The other Sahabi was a little bit more cautious. Like, you know what, I don't know, maybe because now we have water, the time did not pass for that prayer. I'm going to go and make wudu with water and pray again my same prayer. So he did that. So one of them didn't, one of them did. They went back to Medina and went back to the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And they both told him. Now in this case, he's going to tell us which one is the right opinion. What did the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam say? He says the one who did not repeat his prayer, he says, فَقَالَ الَّذِي لَمْ يُعِدْ أَصَبْتَ السُنَّةِ. So the one that did not pray, he says, this is the sunnah. This is the truth. This is the right thing to do. Is if you prayed with your tayammum, that salah was valid, and it is what? It already checkmarked that prayer for you, so you don't have to repeat it. So you've done the sunnah. And he looked at the other person who repeated the prayer and he says, you have gained more ajr. So this second prayer will be counted as nafil for you, and you gain more ajr. See what it is? So which one was the right opinion? Like in terms of do we need to repeat the prayer or not? The one who did not repeat it. You understand? But both of them are valid. Both of them are valid because they both were extracted from the text in a proper linguistic and fiqhi and usuli way. See what it is? Now, yes, you could have the right opinion. You might think, and you should think if you're following something, that this is the right opinion. But you should not look down upon your brother and sister if they're following another, different, but valid opinion. Ibn Sam'ani, one of the Shafi'i scholars, comments on why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow this type of differences to happen? Like, I mean, why can't we just get the right answer and be tested in following it? He says this. He says, this ambiguity seems to be like an imtihan, it's a test. It's a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His good servant, His pious servants who are trying their best to find the right opinions, so He can differentiate between them in sincerity and in goodness. Now, there's many people who are good. This side is good, this Sahabi was good, and this Sahabi is good. This faqih and this madhab is good, and this madhab is good. This tabi'i is good, and this tabi'i is good. They differed. Now, in that difference, Ibn Sam'ani says, well, they're all good, but goodness is also levels. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to differentiate the good people within getting them to find the truth of the haqq. And that's why one would get 2 rewards and one would get 1 reward. So quickly to finalize, inshallah, I have 7 lessons really for the adab of differences, so we can keep those in mind. Number 1, which is the most important, because we suffer from this every day and every hour of being together as a community. Maintaining the love and the brotherhood and the unity. Not just because you are from this madhab or this masjid or that masjid, I go and look down upon you or think that you're different. Or, a'udhu billah, some people start hating you after they find, oh, you're from this masjid. A'udhu billah, you're a mubtada'. A'udhu billah, your aqidah is fasid. A'udhu billah, where's your kufi? You know what I'm saying? Like, I grew up here, man. You know, I got sick of it. I'm telling you, I'm being very, very truthful. This needs to stop. And Allah subhanahu the fard of unity is a fard. It's a fard qat'i, it's muhkam. The difference in opinion, how long you wanted to measure my beard, how long is it? Subhanallah. Number 2 is Even though differences is allowed, doesn't mean that basically you pick and choose. This is the other extreme. The other extreme says, well, this is valid and this is valid. I pick what's easy for me. That's not correct. You should always seek what's right. You should always do your best to reach what's right. Because this is your imtihan. This is your test. Are you going to follow what's right, or are you going to follow what's popular? Even if it's valid. Are you going to follow what's right, or are you going to follow what's easy? Some people come to me, Sheikh, like, can I use they tell me, can I use the Hanafi rukhsa of this and this and this? I don't know, they always call the Hanafis because they think that the Hanafi have the most rukhas. Unfortunately, it's wrong, but anyway, it's popular out there. Can I use this rukhsa? I'm like, what do you believe? He's like, well, I believe this, but since there is scholars who say such things, maybe we can somehow give me a leeway and an exit. Exit. Exit where, brother? So we have to seek the truth. Yes, there is more than one valid opinion. The validity doesn't make it correct. So we need to understand, draw the line between us, having the sincerity between us and Allah, to find what's correct and what Allah wants from us, and at the same time not have prejudice, really, against others who follow a different opinion. Number 3 is really actually the prejudice. It's not having the prejudice, not having the asabiyah to your group or your masjid or your madhab or your sheikh. We worship Allah. Since when our madhab will take us to Jannah? Since when our group will take us to Jannah? Since when our message is going to take us to Jannah, or your shaykh is going to be your shafi'? Nobody does shafa'ah except the Rasulullah on the Day of Judgment. The Anbiya couldn't make shafa'ah except the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So follow his sunnah. Follow his sunnah. Number 4 is respecting the other opinion. We need to train in doing that. It's hard. It's hard to see others different and still respect that difference. We're pre-programmed like that, unfortunately, and that's not good. The Muslimin should have the best example of dealing with issues of difference in opinion. You need to understand where the line is drawn between what's valid and not valid, and give people the leeway and the mercy to let them follow what they think is right. Your right is right to you. Don't push it upon others. You can advise. It's coming there. Accepting the right of others to follow it. So respect is one thing, but you have to really, this is the difference between the number 4 and number 5, is that you actually, in your actions, allowing people to do that. Can you do that? Can you actually bring to your platform people of different opinion? Can a Sufi sheikh come and invite a Salafi sheikh to their platform? I'd love to see that one day before I die. But where's the brotherhood? We're Muslim. We're Muslim. Number 6 is now discussing with leniency. Yeah, it's okay. You could have an opinion. You can be opinionated, no problem. You're passionate about your opinion, that's fine. But when you discuss it with others, trying to convince others that this is the truth, do it with sincerity. Do it for Allah. Do it because you love them. Don't do it because you want them to be like you. Do it because you care about them. Do it with leniency. Do it with respect. Do it with love. The last one, inshallah, is big one, is understanding that you could be wrong. We forget that. Like, I'm on the haqq, brother. You tell me I'm not on the haqq. Astaghfirullah. Akhi, what are you talking about? I'm on the haqq. I came from the States a little bit, so Philly, you know what I'm saying? So get it in your mind. If it's an issue of ikhtilaf, you could be wrong. So give yourself the humility. But she said, I could be 1% wrong. Which is 1%. Imam Ahmed had 50% chance of being wrong. I have 1% of being wrong. Raise that humility inside you. So these are the 7 lessons. I think if we can keep those lessons, we can nurture lots of love in the community. We're already brothers and sisters divided. We have a lecture about Islamophobia coming up, inshallah. We're divided, we're weak. We're always bickering and fighting amongst ourselves. This is one of the main causes of that, if not the essence of all causes. Right? So if we learn this, we become better leaders. We learn this, we unite our community. We learn this, we nurture our differences. We learn this, we become a better community and a better ummah. I'll leave you with that. You are the leaders of tomorrow. Don't forget. Jazakumullah khair for listening. Wa sallallahu ala rasulil kareem. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. I'll take a couple of questions, inshallah, for a Q&A session. Anybody has any questions? Yes, go ahead. So, أهلا وسهلا وإياكم.
To ask, when it comes to differences of opinion, how do we identify which one is a valid difference of opinion, which is not? Because I see that as the most gray area when it comes to reconciling differences. So how do you suggest we approach that?
So it depends on your level of understanding or level of understanding of Islam. If you're a beginner, you could just ask a question. Is this something that the madhahib have differed upon? If the madhahib have differed upon this, back off. Follow what you think is right or follow what your sheikh taught you, back off. You know, the mas'ala of basically whether your thobe is supposed to be this long or your beard is supposed to be that long or so forth. Or where it's supposed to put your hands, is it above the belly button or in your chest? Or, you know, or the Malikis, they might basically just put their hands, lay them down. Just ask yourself, is the madhahib differ in this? If they differ in this, you need to respect it, back off. Now, if it's an issue of modern times, that's where it basically becomes a little bit harder. So that's basically where you need to be a little bit more meticulous. And we are in the times of fitan, brothers and sisters. So yes, it is a very important question. Barakallahu feek. You need to go back and understand. Ask the opinion holder, what are the evidences of this opinion? As a question to learn. You don't need to debate it. If you want to understand the validity of it, understand the evidences. Are the evidences from the Quran and Sunnah? Are the evidences based upon text? If somebody's not giving you an ayah or hadith, and you don't see like how it's linked, or he or she cannot explain how those ahadith and ayat are linked to that conclusion, there's a problem with that opinion. Okay? We worship Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed only the Quran and the Sunnah. That's what was revealed by Allah. If there's no mention of the Quran and Sunnah in the opinion, you know it's not valid. Right? And there's many opinions, unfortunately, are very popular these days, even though there's ahadith sariha sahiha. Against a specific opinion, you see popular opinions about it. One of the main ones is selling pork. You go to many imams in this city, unfortunately, I don't say many, some, a number, and they'll tell you selling, as long as you're not eating pork is haram, but selling it is okay. Especially if this is the only way for you to make rizq and so forth. Okay, what is the dalil? There's no dalil. The dalil is that basically, well, you're in difficulty. And Islam doesn't want you to go through difficulty. These generic slogans and cliches, when basically you reach them, you know that there is no backing to that opinion. If it's not telling you this ayah says this, or this hadith says this, you need to at least put a question mark, at least. If you're not a person of knowledge yet, and this is what we build, alhamdulillah, in ayah 3, we build the ability to recognize. We're not building scholars, we're the ability to recognize, to understand the basics, to have firm grounding. So as I said, basically, if it's an issue of the past, classical issue, you can just ask, did the fuqaha of the four madhahib, did they differ in this? If they did, khalas, back off. If it's a modern issue, then you need to dig deeper and ask the source, what is the evidences? If you don't see an ayah that's specific to this mas'ala, or a hadith that's specific to this mas'ala, and only generalizations that are more or less rational, put a question mark. I'm not saying you refute it. You at that point of time of your maturity within the deen, you might not be able to refute or not refute. Just at least in your mind say, well, this I gotta be careful. Because the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did he teach us? He says, if you're in doubt of something, leave it. It's better for you to leave it. This is more taqwa, it's wara'. So leave it. If there's a question mark, leave it. You understand what I'm saying? That's how you should be dealing with things. And this only then, when we have such piety, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make us victorious, inshallah. Barakallahu feek. It was a great question. Any other questions from the sisters? Yes, go ahead.
So I had my turn.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I had a situation where one of my friends told me that their mufti sahib told them that if you clear your throat during your salat, it becomes invalid, right? And
Sure.
so when he told me that, I said that I'm basically indifferent to that opinion because he can't tell me where it came from. Like, where did that opinion come from, right? So I told him that in a situation like that, you would have to ask for Mufti Saab that where is the proof that
Good.
this is true,
Good.
right? And he told me that it's wrong for you to do that because you can't question your scholars because they're above you and they're more knowledgeable.
Well,
So is it wrong if a scholar is telling you something that this is like this or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, is it wrong for you to
Question them. This is what Allah said in the Quran. It says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. So you have to ask. You have to ask, and that person should give you the dalil of why he thinks this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What you've done is what you need to do. And anybody who says otherwise is really just telling you to follow blindly. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He cursed the evil scholars of the people of the book, why did He? And He actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that the Christians and the Jews, they worship their rabbis and their priests. So one of the ex-Christians who converted to Islam, or was in the process of converting, came to the Rasul and told me, Ya Rasulullah, we did not worship them. It was Adi ibn Hatim, a very popular. Hatim al-Ta'i was very popular. His son used to be on something similar to Christianity. So he told the Rasulullah, we didn't worship them. You know what was the answer of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He says, did they make the halal haram for you and the haram halal for you, and you never questioned them? You never questioned them? You never questioned them? You never questioned them? He says, فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَتُهُم. He says that, not questioning them, is worshipping them. Not questioning them is worshipping them. It's hadith sahih. Not questioning them is worshipping them. So whoever told you is, again, listen, brothers and sisters, I told you I'm frank. We are right now in the state of this ummah, we are in a declined state. We're not in this state because we are a great ummah, we have the best scholars and knowledge is everywhere. No, it's the exact other way around. It's very scarce and rare. So whoever told you, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive him and guide him and make him a more learned person, but that advice totally contradicts the spirit and the essence and the muhkam of the Quran and the Sunnah. The Rasul says, what do he say? He says, if you don't ask them, you're worshipping them. So be aware of that. What you've done was great. May Allah bless you, keep you, and strengthen you. Keep doing it. Against the muhkam. Look, I mean, let's not get there. It's a different topic. I would say basically the best akhlaq at the end of the day is to treat people with respect and educate them so they learn. If I'm going to tell you to basically stay away from people who do not follow the muhkam, I'm going to tell you to stay away from lots and lots of people. So trust me, this needs a little bit more discussion. But no, don't stay away from it. Educate them. Try to understand that they might be just didn't know. Give them the benefit of the doubt and try to treat them as best as you can. So I'll go back to the sister's question, inshallah. Tfaddali. Just make your voice a little bit louder.
For example, if a group of Muslims, they're gathered to make an organization in order like to advocate for example, the Muslims in Burma.
Mm-hmm.
But when they are coming out, like let's say here in Canada,
Yep.
they are hiding their identity as Muslim. So they look Muslims, like you can tell from how they look, but when they like write their document and their name and everything, they will not mention that they are Muslim, and they will try to have other information, like they will advocate for other stuff. Of course, that's not like against Islam,
Okay.
but just not to show that they are Muslim.
Okay.
So, is there like a difference in opinion in this situation that someone can hide like their identity to protect?
Okay, so let me tell you something. Since this lecture is about basically the topic of difference in opinion, and if I'm going to basically answer questions that are specific about what is the right opinion, it would be deviating from the lecture topic. So let's discuss. Since I didn't catch every word, I don't want to go and give like an answer which might be taken as a fatwa. So let's talk after the lecture, inshallah. Especially that you're one of my students, so we can discuss it, inshallah, and we can discuss that specific use case. Barakallahu feekum. So we'll keep it there, inshallah. I know you might have more questions. Does time allow for one more question, or what's the... Okay, so they just told me that we can't have any more questions. Barakallahu feekum, jazakumullah khair. If you have any questions, you can talk to me personally. And we'll see you, inshallah, in another lecture tonight, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.